Hi there, remember that bead roller stand I made a while ago? Turns out that kind of sucks. Let's fix that. So I made that bead roller stand and the English wheel stand a while back, not too long time ago. But I'll put up a clip if editing me is not too lazy. And they're not that great, as it turns out. I mean, the English wheel one's fine. The bead roller stand, though, it's a bit wibbly wobbly. You might think, oh, just cut some pieces of square tube, you know, such as this here, and weld them on. And I think I'm going to do that. In fact, let's just cut straight ahead to the welding part and get that over with. Does that look even to you? It doesn't? You know, I think it's close enough. Gloves. Gross. Wow, that was crazy, huh? Lit the whole place on fire? I haven't filmed it yet. That's a miracle of editing. Okay, so for this next bit, we have some decisions to make. I want to triangulate this sticky outy part with this tall towery part. Triangulate this way. Now I can do it kind of at 45-degree angle like those, or I can actually steepen it a bit, or just make another one of these and put a tiny thing there and call it done. That option I'm not going to do. I'm going to do a bigger one, but I think I'm going to go with the 45-degree angle for a couple of reasons. One, it's easier to cut at a 45-degree angle. I don't have to do any math. Second, I've seen people like beef these bead rollers up, make them like cool shaped. If I can find a picture, I'll put one up, and that would be kind of neat to bench build in my mind because I'm never actually going to do it. But just in case I do it, I'm thinking the 45-degree angle would give me triangulation plus give space below the bead roller to allow for all that cool stuff. And then on the 45, I'm thinking of sticking, where'd they go? A lot of these conveniently cut pieces of round stock along it and hang my bead roller dies on there. Who knows? I might change my mind and stick them on the side here. Or not even there. I don't know. And then, in an act of more stiffening and to play with the bead roller and a couple other tools, I'm going to make a sheet metal piece that goes between the angled bit and here, you know, because it's just going to be open. And I have punch and flare dies, and I have a bead roller. So I'm going to use them, dang it. But first, before I get to that, I'm going to have to measure this. Sure, that's 16 to there, 16 to there, so I can actually go probably 18 by 18 triangle thing. Math time. I'm running out of clean space to do this. You remember school, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I want to know what c squared is going to be. I know what a and b squared are going to be the same. So 2a squared equals c squared. This is going to be 18 inches. So 218 squared equals, the number I want. I realize you probably can't see any of that. Just trust that the number I'm going to get is correct. Equals square root of that is 25 inches. Now I believe I measured inside, so that's going to be the inside edge. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to use I'm going to use 25 inches. Actually, round down 2 feet. 24 inches as the long side for where I'm going to cut this this piece right here, which is that's out of frame. Good work, cameraman. All of that was just complete gibberish that you couldn't even see. Got to fire that cameraman. So up here I got a 45-degree angle. I'm going to put a 45-degree angle going this way, and from the outer edge here to the outer edge of the other side is going to be 2 feet. Where is my tape measure? Literally every week. Oh, it's on the floor. I was going to say, like every video I'm missing my tape measure. Wouldn't be so bad if I didn't have like 15 of them. So while I'm going through the boring task of marking things up, how are you doing? Doing anything fun lately? Not saying you're not fun, I'm just saying there's not a whole lot we can do right now. Though I did read a very interesting book that I think is going to guide some of what I'm doing. from now on. Not that I'm going to change anything, but I read it and it's like, it's one of those books where like you read it and you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I think, but I've never like put it together like that before. Good work. Because, you know, words they aren't easy for the talking thing. Okay, with this thing welded in place, it's now pretty triangulated and not wibbly wobbly anymore. However, I want to add in a panel right here and maybe a couple of speed holes. And I want to do that because I have a lot of these sheet metal tools and I better use them for something, right? Why on earth would I have punch and flare dies and a bead roller and an English wheel if I didn't use them, at least occasionally? Okay, so we're going to need a template. I had to tape a couple pieces of paper together for this. It's a little larger than normal. And I decided not to do, like, figure it out in math and then do it, because there's no way I was going to weld this up straight. And I didn't. I didn't weld it up straight. So, hooray for me, I suppose. Let's see here. I'm going to try to mark there-ish as a corner, down to there-ish as a corner. I'm not going to make it fit in tight in these corners. You know, I want it to be at least moderately easy to figure out. So you now need to brace this there-ish as a corner. And there we go. And like usual, for whatever reason, the workbench is full and completely unusable, but the floor is nice and clean. It's even mostly swept. So I'm just going to do a little bit of layout, or attempted layout, on this here piece of paper. And then we'll get to figuring out how we're gonna actually do it. I got a piece of steel behind me, which you can't see, and I do not have a plan in mind. Beads. Let's put some beads. So this is obviously gonna have a flange that I'm going to use. I'm gonna bend it over in the break and weld it on the inside of this. So anyway, this book I read recently called, it's not really a book, it's called The Unknown Craftsman. It's very popular in certain craft circles, specifically pottery, but I think it really applies to everything, because the guy who wrote it, he wasn't himself a craftsman. He was a Japanese philosopher, which is very odd if you think about it too hard, so I recommend you don't. And he talked about craftsmanship and products, and it's mostly poignant, I think anyway, because he was alive in the 20th century. I think he died in like 1970 or something. So we're not talking like ancient philosophy. We're talking like the dude could have theoretically flown around the world on Boeing airliners. Interesting. So it's gonna be a step thing down. So that means I'm gonna have to pre-stretch this a bit with the bead roller, or with the English wheel. And what do we need in the middle? Speed holes. We need some speed holes. So anyway, Philosopher's name is Soetsu Yanagi, I think. And boy, does he have a lot to say about industrial products. He's not anti-industrial per se. He just kind of thinks, you know, for whatever reason, these new products that everyone's mass producing and buying, they just kind of suck. You know, they're just not good. Let's see, how can I use way too many of these? Yeah, there you go. And then mirror this over here. Good? I think that's a winner. So anyway, he talks about a lot of things. Design of things, how they're made, the kind of ethos that goes into good products, and he even lays out a way in theory that you could have mass-produced industrial products, you know, that were good. Hey, get like a craftsman who actually uses that or makes that product, very skilled at making that product, get him to design it, and then get like people to put it into production to make it. And I think as a model, he had a friend of his who's a very famous potter named Shoji Hamada, very well-known studio potter, and we're not talking like a dude in a shack making a couple of bowls or something. We're talking like his kilns were the size of houses, and he would do thousands of pots every firing, like mass production, you know? How do we have these? Something like that. The center line should be in a line, right? Yeah. He talks about like pattern, like icons and little like decorations on stuff. And the way things are built, and he seems to suggest things are best when they're not overly complicated, which, whoops, I'm gonna fail that. But also not like things, the way something looks should at least follow in part by the way it's made. And when those two things mesh together really well, then it's fantastic. He uses one example in there, like some kind of like jacket thing that farmers wore in Japan, and it was a woven fabric, and there were certain parts of it that were a bit reinforced because it needed to be reinforced. It's like a work coat, and because it's a woven fabric and a work coat kind of thing, and it was reinforced in a certain way, it developed a pattern on it. Naturally, there was just a pattern, and the pattern was kind of neat. So like, it's a decorative pattern that follows from the way something is built. Just gonna mark center points. And that's, I think, why people in particular like things like these punch and flare dies, even as decorative things, because they do serve a purpose. They take a flat piece of steel, punch holes in it, so it's lightening it, and because it's flaring it, same goes for the bead roller, it adds like dimensions, it stiffens it. So it makes the flat piece of metal stronger and lighter. And in most cases, though maybe not all, lighter is better. Of course, in this case, there's absolutely no reason to need a even stiffer and lighter panel to go on a bead roller. Let's see, what size is this one? I think this is the 1 inch, 2 inch, 2.5, wait, 1.5, 1, 2, 1.5, 2.5. Bingo. And that made me think a bit about woodworking too, because I think it can apply to pretty much every craft. You know, maybe not every trade, like maybe, I don't think you'd want a particularly creative electrician, but someone who builds stuff, like say furniture. That used to be like a job. Like furniture had to be built by like a craftsman and not in an IKEA factory. And the way it was built was, you know, expedient. It had to be used. The guy who made it had to make a bunch of them, so he was pretty good at it. The designs were decently well thought out. Things came out of that that I really like visually, like exposed joinery, for example. Get the steel. Exposed joinery. I'll just keep rambling while I'm cutting. Why not? Exposed joinery is like dovetails, exposed dovetails, through tenons, where like you have a hole and a thing and it goes in, but instead of hiding that, it pokes through the other side. All of this kind of stuff, right? Exposed joinery is one of the coolest looking things, because it's also visually a nice pattern. Sometimes it looks really nice, and it comes from the way something is built. You could say the same about good welds, like really good quality TIG welds. They're art. They're work of art. They look so nice. Good quality TIG welds or MIG welds. And then you have the most hateful thing I have ever seen, which, believe it or not, was on a bench, like a bench you could buy at Target or whatever, crap furniture, and it had like this like bench top and the legs, and stained on the top over the legs was fake through tenons. Fake, like exposed joinery, but faked, and faked poorly. It was the most morally reprehensible thing I've ever seen on a piece of woodworking, and it made me want to punch someone in the stomach, because you took something, exposed joinery, that was a pure functional thing that looked fantastic, and like it's like if your grandmother baked you a nice pie and you ate it, and then someone popped out and said, "Ha, it's not your grandmother's, it's from Target, this pie. We just bought it off the shelf. Oh yeah, and we tied your grandma up and threw her in the shed, and this is a robot that looks like her. And it's all fake, and your childhood is ruined, and fake exposed joinery should be punished." That's the point I'm getting at. Welcome back. Apparently when my camera gets too hot, it shuts off without telling me, which is fun. You missed me transferring what I drew onto the thing and drilling some holes. Exciting stuff, I know. Most likely this piece of steel looks disgusting. Wow, the other side's not as bad. Why did I draw on this side? So, but before I do the bead rolling, I'm gonna try pre-stretching with the English wheel. I've seen people do this. This is because when you roll these beads, it's actually pulling the material in. And what you can do if you take a piece of paper, set your hand in the middle, and try to pull the material in into your fist, you'll see it gets all wrinkly along the edges because you can't stretch or shrink the paper. It's just crinkling, and that makes these panels all kind of wavy, you know, like that kind of thing. You don't want that. So you can pre-stretch with an English wheel. So I'm going to pre-stretch just along these lines a bit. Hopefully that'll help. If not, oh well, we'll see. You also missed a little more of me ranting and judging on how society's downfall is imminent because of, you know, a chair I saw once. May have been a bit extreme in my estimation there. Actually, no. I'm going to double down. That chair definitely exposes industrialism's role in the downfall of society. Yep, I'm going to stick with that. I mean, seriously, it's an atrocity. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about furniture because it's just making me upset. Is that even enough pre-stretching? I don't know. We're making sheet metal anyway. So the thing is, with this panel doesn't need to exist, and the bead roll doesn't need to exist, and the holes don't need to exist, but at least I'm doing them. Like I'm not just putting up a picture of it. It's like that fake carbon fiber look that they're putting on all these parts now. Very few things look as cool as carbon fiber, and very few things look as horrible as fake carbon fiber. It's wrong. Don't do it. Say no to fake carbon fiber. So now instead of a three-legged impossible to rock stand, I have an always rocking stand. What have I done? Oh, I'll fix that in a minute. Let's see, I may not have the correct dies in here, but we're going to have to live with it. Turn down that speed. Here we go. Oh yeah, I like this with the motor. I can use both hands to move. That way, when all my lines are crooked and stuff, it's because I wouldn't shut up and concentrate, not because the tool is difficult to use. Oh yeah, why didn't I buy one of these motors before? This is great. This is relaxing. It's almost like vacation. So anyway, there's a lot of other stuff in that book that's not related to producing things. Get the book, read it. I'm sure you'll be interested, maybe. It's just particularly well known about within pottery people because the guy was friends with a world-famous potter and another world-famous potter in the early 20th century. One of them was Bernard Leach, whose grandson is a potter with the YouTube channel Simon Leach. Yes, they are related, obviously, right? All right, let's take a look. Oh yeah. Look at that, there's very little warping. You know, I don't know if you can see, there's a tiny bit of warping, but not a lot. I think that works pretty well. Want to bend at the line, bend it up towards this. Cool. Don't bead rollers make everything look cooler. They just do. That is a fact. Although some of these corners I should really clean up. But I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna. Okay, story time. See that thing in the picture that I'm holding? Yeah, that is the handle from my metal brake. I decided to do the folding off camera because the metal brake was actually shoved under the engine of the van off in the corner, and the metal brake fell off of the handle. So the panel's actually stuck in there, and I can't get it out. And that's gonna be fun. And since we're out of time, I figured I'd just leave you on this cliffhanger. And if you want to see how I managed to get it out of there and finish up the project, you'll have to join me next time. So tune in next time and watch me further void the warranty on this thing.